I'm Georgia Crew. I am the Curriculum Director for English here at the UTC. The course I'm about to be talking to you about today is A-Level English Language and Literature, and it is the combined course. So the members of staff that we have delivering that course are Ms. Chisholm and Miss Aslan. So they are the faces that you will see on a day-to-day basis should you choose to take it. Key information then. So it is AQA that we run the course through. It's a full A-level, so that means you will be doing it spread across the 2 years. There'll be no external examinations at the end of year 12 because we don't do the AS course. We do the full A-level, meaning that it's worth between 16 and 56 UCAS points, obviously dependent on the grade you achieve at the end of it. You have 5 lessons a week over the course of the 2 years, and they are divided between the 2 teachers so that you have 3 with one and 2 with the other. The course itself is broken down into 80% examination, so it is heavily examination based, and 20% coursework, which I will refer to as non-exam assessment as we go through. The examination is varied in that sometimes it is closed book and sometimes it is open book. So sometimes you are allowed to take a copy of the text that you're studying in with you, and sometimes you are expected to do it from memory, like what you would have been expected with your GCSEs. So in terms of the topics that we cover, there are a range of literary and linguistic elements. Now, unlike at GCSE, where you study literature and language very much in isolation, they are combined and embedded throughout this course. So it's not like one unit is language, one unit is literature. Each unit addresses aspects of language and literature, and you'll approach literary text from a linguistic perspective, and you'll approach linguistic text thinking about literary elements such as historical context, that sort of thing. So we study a range of different text types. So one of the first units on here is the Paris Anthology. So this is a range of non-fiction materials where you will examine them looking at the linguistics, the influence of time, the time period, historical events, that sort of thing. We move on to a novel study with the theme Imagined Worlds, and this is a dystopian novel, The Handmaid's Tale, where you'll look at it from a range of linguistic and literary elements, very much focusing on kind of characterization, how the world is portrayed, how the language is used, all of the kind of stuff you're used to with studying a novel, but also more critical in your examination of the way the worlds are presented through those linguistic choices. And we also examine some poetry. So we look at a collection of poems from Carol Ann Duffy. We look at a sample of her poetry from Meantime, and again we approach that looking very much at characterization, looking at the importance of time, place, events, relationships, and how language is used in the construction of perspective throughout. So again, literature and linguistics embedded all the way through. And we then look at writing about society. So we look at the novel The Great Gatsby, and in examining that, we're looking again at people and their points of view, how conflicts are established, how language is used to establish identity and power, and how the narrative structure itself is put together. We also look, I'm just going to skip ahead at this point, I'll come back in a minute, but Streetcar Named Desire, we approach in a very similar way to The Great Gatsby. So we're looking very much at how language is used for establishing and maneuvering conflicts, and how we resolve those through linguistic choices, as well as obviously the portrayal of points of view, relationships, and the structure of the play itself. The element of this course that will be quite unfamiliar to you is critical commentary. Now, we are very much used to writing essay-type responses, analytical responses about texts we have studied, but this is where you will produce your own piece of writing, so creative writing, and you will then write a commentary about that writing process, where you critique your own writing and the choices you have made and why you've chosen to do what and where. And it's very much about approaching the writing process with a much more critical mind, if you like. So you are picking apart everything you've done and why, and it makes your writing much more purposeful, much more consciously put together. So finally, we have your NEA. So NEA stands for non-exam assessment, which is basically coursework. And this is where you kind of put everything you've worked through in the whole course into practice independently. And it's called making connections, because you are making connections between a literary text and a non-literary text, and you look at how the linguistic choices and constructions used in both are similar, or how they're different, or what patterns you can make between them. You're trying to make connections between these two texts, and they're texts of your choice, so it's very much on you at that point. It's a really, really interesting and varied course, and as I say, literature and language are embedded all the way throughout every single aspect. So in terms of our entry requirements, we do ask that you have a grade 6 in English language at GCSE. The reason being it's a difficult course. We expect a lot of you in terms of your writing standard, your reading skill, and yeah, in order to access it, you are best to have a grade 6 or above in English language. So, ideal students for this, as I've already said, this is a very kind of creative but also critical course. So you need to be creatively minded as well as have that critical thought process. But we also need you to be incredibly industrious. A lot of this is independent work. You are going to have to carry out some research. You are going to have to do reading in your own time. You are going to have to be engaging with the text kind of inquisitively. So we need you to be diligent, apologies, I've just merged inquisitive and diligent. We need you to be diligent, and we need you to be curious about the things that you're approaching and the world around you. As well as that, and you wouldn't believe the amount of people who approach this course who are, we need you to be a bibliophile. You have to enjoy reading, whether it is fiction, whether it is non-fiction. There are so many elements of reading that we will expect you to do. So you must like reading to do this course. It will heavily influence what it is we are going through. In terms of places, courses, careers you can progress into, honestly, it opens so many doors for you. There are 1,000,001 things you can do with an English A-level. You can go into your more traditional English pathways, if you like, so things like law, journalism, publishing, linguistics, or even teaching, media, that sort of thing, are more traditional pathways with clearer links to English, but it essentially opens the door up to you for anything. It demonstrates your writing skill. You will have a seriously high-level critical writing skill at the end of this, as well as your communication, your comprehension level, your critical thinking skills. It lends to 1,000,001 things. We should be just asking what it doesn't make you suitable for. So in terms of resources that you will need, we need you to have access to a laptop or computer. If you don't have your own, obviously we have them in school. And if you are using the ones in school, we need you to make sure you're making best use of your time. All the work that you submit to us will need to be typed up, as well as you'll need to be able to carry out research, that sort of thing. So you will need access to a laptop or computer on a regular basis. The other thing that you need is a large A4 lever arch file. As I've said, it's a 2-year course. There will be so many bits of paper, essays, extracts that we give you, notes, research, lots of different things. We need you to have your work organised effectively and all together in one place as well, because there's so many links throughout this course that you'll need to be flipping from one thing to the other, and you'll need to have that with you every single lesson. And we will regularly do folder checks to check you are keeping that organised and on top of your work. All of the set texts that we go through will be provided for you, and we will loan them and expect them back at the end of the year. And for that reason, you won't be able to write and then make notes and annotations as you go through, which is why you may wish to purchase your own copies. So I've listed the set texts that you might want to purchase for yourself as personal preference. If you feel like you'll want to make those notes and annotations as we go through the course, they are the texts. I do recommend getting them. It is useful that you can go through and do that. Yeah. So hopefully I covered everything as quickly as possible. It's a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but if there is any additional information that you require, anything else you want to ask me about the course, please don't hesitate to get in touch. My email address is below. Thank you very much for listening. Hope that was helpful.